Hi, 1E1. Okay, I'm Miss Angeline Ng again. Okay, this is our second official flip classroom lesson. And today we're gonna move on to talk about something else about verbs. Last week we kind of learned that there are many different types. I hope you still remember them. And other than that, verbs can be separated into two categories as well. They are known as the lexical verb and the auxiliary verb. This might look a bit intimidating because of the words. Most of us wouldn't have heard of them before. Okay, but don't worry because I'm going to explain. Okay, so what does it mean by lexical verb? Okay, it looks very um, chim in a sense, right? Okay, but actually lexical verbs are very simply known as main verbs. And if main verbs sound familiar to you, we learned a lot of them last week when we talked about the different types of verbs. Basically, main verbs have meaning on their own. Okay, so what does this mean? Let's look at the example sentence. Number one, we go to school by bus. Okay, if I ask you to identify the verb in the sentence, okay, you would be able to tell me that the verb is go. Okay, so we go to school by bus. The action is go. Just the word alone, you know roughly what does it mean, even without telling you where does he go or what transport did he take. You know, go is just like go. Okay, how about the next one? John sees a squirrel on the tree. Okay, so if I ask you to identify the verb in this sentence, okay, it will be sees. Okay, try the last one. The sun rises in the east. Identify the verb in this sentence. Okay, most of you should be able to tell me that the verb is rises. Okay, and last week we learned the 6 different types of verbs. Okay, we learned action verb, linking verb, sensing verb, feeling verb, mental verb, and lastly, verbs of possession. So now if I ask you, let's test whether you remember anything from last week. Okay, the first sentence, we go to school by bus. Okay, the verb go, what type of verb it is? Okay, it's pretty simple because it's an action, so it's an action verb. How about the second one? John sees a squirrel on a tree. So sees, what type of verb it is? Okay, it's sensing because we use seeing as part of our 5 senses. Okay, last one, the sun rises in the east. Pretty quickly you should be able to tell me that it's an action verb. Okay, so that's all actually for lexical verbs. They're just a very general, very common type of verbs that we use in our sentences, in our description. The next type, auxiliary verbs. The thing about auxiliary is the spelling is pretty tricky. I need you to know how to spell it. Okay, it's AUXI, auxi, and Larry, Liary. Okay, it's the Li part is pretty tricky, so you need to learn how to spell. Okay, what exactly are auxiliary verbs? Okay, they are helping verbs. Okay, and they are used together with the main verb. Okay, they come hand in hand. They work together. Okay, you seldom find auxiliary verbs alone. In fact, I don't think I can find any example. Okay, so they come together, work hand in hand. Okay, to indicate tenses, to indicate whether it's an active or passive voice, to indicate negatives, and sometimes to indicate that it's a question. And of course, they have a lot of other functions when they work together. Okay, if we look at an example, Mary. Okay, now we have the auxiliary verb does not. Okay, the main verb like. Remember, like is a feeling verb. Okay, cats. So Mary does not like cats. Okay, does not is the auxiliary verb. It works together with like to show you a negative sentence. Mary does not like cats. Okay, even in auxiliary verb itself, okay, we can separate it into two other different types of category. Okay, the primary auxiliary verb and the modal auxiliary verb. Okay, it's not model, it's not model. Okay, not your supermodel 1.8 meter walk down the catwalk kind of model, but it's modal. Okay, in fact, this is the next chapter that we're going to cover. Therefore, I'll zoom in and talk about primary auxiliary verb first. Okay, there are different types. Okay, we have the verbs to be. Okay, we learned last week verbs to be. You can conjugate it and form is, am, are, past tense, was, were. and the base form be. Okay, she is, he is, I am, you are, they are. Okay, and the past tense. We also have another type of primary auxiliary verb called to have. Okay, has, have, had, as well as to do, does, do, did. Okay, so now we know there's a main verb, there's auxiliary verb. One type of auxiliary verb is the primary auxiliary verb. Let's look at the example sentence. Okay, we'll now try to identify the main verb and the auxiliary verb in the sentence. Remember I said that they go hand in hand, they work together to indicate certain meaning in a sentence, give certain meaning to the sentence. Okay, let's look at it. John is reading a book. Okay, so if you can identify the main verb. Okay, if you can identify the main verb, okay, I think I'll use a pointer over here. Okay, the main verb is reading. Okay, without indicating anything, you will know what is the meaning of the word reading. So that's a main verb. Okay, let me just indicate over here. Okay, so we do have another verb in front of reading. Okay, and that is actually the auxiliary verb. I'm going to use a square for this. Okay, and this way. Pardon my bad handwriting on the mouse. So you see, is reading comes together to show that this John is in fact doing the action now. Okay, it shows the tense of the sentence. Okay, it's a present continuous. Okay, and we know together with is, reading you give another meaning to reading. So if we look at the second sentence, okay, let me just erase this. Okay, the second sentence, Joseph. Okay, this is a typo, sorry. Joseph has not done his homework. Okay, let me try using another color. Okay, let's have orange. Okay, if I ask you to identify the main verb, would you be able to do so? The action itself, the one that we learned last week. Okay, hopefully you know that it's done. This is the main verb. Okay, and now together with the main verb, okay, the auxiliary verb gives a meaning to the sentence. So identify the auxiliary verb and you will see that it has not. Okay, and has not is a negation. Okay, it says that Joseph didn't or haven't done his homework. If we look at the third sentence, Jack does not like dogs. And like Mary doesn't like cats, so Jack does not like dogs. Okay, identify the main verb, try it on your own. Do you know which word is the main verb? Okay, right. Like is the main verb. And the auxiliary verb, as usual, this one comes before the main verb. Okay, and it gives a negation to the sentence as well. He doesn't like dogs. Okay, so hopefully this helps explain a little on lexical verb, the main verb, as well as auxiliary verb, specifically primary auxiliary verb. Feel free to rewind, feel free to fast forward, take notes. By today, you should understand what's a lexical verb and what's a primary auxiliary verb. Okay, in your Ask and Learn exercise, okay, I have a quiz for you. Okay, please complete the quiz. Okay, it shows how much you understand from my little video over here. Okay, and once you have answered the quiz, click submit and you feel free to view the video, which is the third section of this lesson. Right, so thank you. I hope you enjoyed yourself. I definitely did. Okay, and let's look forward to the next Flip Classroom lesson.